Hello everybody. So today I've got a new toy that I just recently acquired. I have really no idea what it is, but I'm suspecting it's a 486 generation machine. I picked it up for pizza money at a local computer shop, and I'm really grateful that they sold this one to me. It was slated to become parts. I guess it was part of an e-waste collection, and they use them, they part them out, and they use them for various things. So happy to have this machine, so why don't we go ahead and take a look at what we got. All right, so in the store, I found it in a pile of a bunch of e-waste, and it was just kind of sitting there, and I just kind of asked if it's something that I could purchase, and they said yeah, and wasn't sure what I was getting, so we pulled it out, put it on the bench, plugged it into a monitor, and it does post. Now this monitor is something I got from my dad a long time ago. I'm not sure if this is going to work for me or not, but let's see if I get anything at all. All right, so we've got post. I was waiting for that floppy drive sound because when we plugged it in, both of us, you know, we're both probably somewhere in our close to our 50s. We're somewhere in that neighborhood, and that's a noise we hadn't heard in a long, long time. So it was actually very nice to hear that. As you can see, I've got 8 megabytes of RAM. It's got a ME BIOS from 1992 on it. I have no idea what we've got going on here. It's got America Megatrends Incorporated and then a series of numbers. Okay, so it says the date and time are not set. Press F1 for setup, escape to boot. Now, one of the problems I've got is this is such an old machine. At this time, around the early 90s, 486s or whatever the heck this is, just really didn't interest me much. And so I never collected them until recently. I've wanted to do something. Now, I don't have an old AT style keyboard, but I've got this wreck of an Amiga 2000 keyboard. You can see it's just really gross. This thing, as gross as it looks, actually is a surprisingly nice keyboard. It has the, I believe they're Matsumi keys in it. I'm not sure, but it has a really nice feel for a Amiga. This is like top notch. Now, the Amiga has the same connector as what you'd find on an ATA, or excuse me, an AT form fat computer, but it's different signals. I don't know if this is going to work at all, plugging it in, if it'll get past here. I highly doubt it, but just for fun, why don't we go ahead and give it a go and see what happens. So with this old Amiga keyboard, I would expect it to air. It did give me a chirp when I plugged it in originally. Let's see. I don't know what I'm waiting for, but I'm waiting. Well, actually, I know what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting. It's looking for the hard drive, and I know this system doesn't have a hard drive in it. Okay, so CMOS battery state low, keyboard air. Okay, so it does detect keyboard. It is not happy with it. And as you can see, no, it's not going to work, unfortunately. So I will be on the hunt for an AT style keyboard. Why don't we go ahead and power it down. Let's tear it open and see what we have on the inside of this machine. All right, so I believe this is what they would call a mid-tower or a half-size tower or something like that. It's a tower configuration, but it's not huge. At one time I had a gateway. I mean, it was like a foot taller than this. This is actually rather petite. We've got our turbo button, which is a very nice thing to have, as well as reset. Funny thing about turbo is when you turn on the turbo, you are actually slowing your computer down. That was so that you had better compatibility with older games. We got ourselves a CD-ROM or a CD player, or yeah, CD. We've got ourselves a CD-ROM. Now this is probably a 1X CD-ROM very early in the day. Don't know if it works or not. It doesn't write, it only reads, and it's probably a 1X drive. Down here, this is actually a pretty cool little thing. This is a Colorado 250 megabyte tape backup. I actually got some tapes. I don't know if they'll work because they're 120, but from what the proprietary of the store said is that the 250 megabyte drive is basically like a compression, and it used the 120 magnetic media. Below that, we've got our floppy disk and our power switch. And the power switch has got that nice clunky feel to it, which is pretty nice, and located at the front, so it makes it easy to reach. We've also got ourselves a keyboard lock. Don't have the keys for that. And a nice blank plate to do something with that. And I've already got an idea on what I want to do here. Turning the machine around. We've got our power supply with the monitor pass-through. And this one's set to the 110 volts. Here's our fan, which doesn't look like there actually is a fan there. Our keyboard, and then we've got several expansion slots in here. Appears this is a sound card of some kind, and we've got some kind of VGA adapter. Looks like a parallel, I believe that's a parallel port. Got a couple of them here. So this must have been used in a business at one time. And then I think that's Centronics. I'm not sure. But anyhow, we've got plenty of slots. What I want to do now is open this guy up and see what we can find inside the case. One of the things I'm hoping for is that the battery did not leak onto the motherboard and destroy my motherboard. That would be a real shame, because I think it would be hard to find a good AT form factor motherboard nowadays. So back in the old days, taking apart computers was a bit of a pain in the butt. This computer case isn't too bad. The worst case I've ever dealt with is the Amiga 4000T. Just an absolutely horrible case. This one, it's okay. So we'll pull that out. And you just got to give it a little bit of a lift, and it should just slide straight back or something like that. Oh, jeepers. And of course he's not. There we go. Case is in nice shape. All right, let's take a look at what we got inside. She is a dirty, dirty girl. This is one dirty case. Lots of dust, no hard drive. Here's our CD-ROM, looks like it's plugged in. The power supply. This is a Touch brand switching power supply. Model number is MPU 220P. 220p, so maybe it's 200 watt, who knows. But it looks in nice shape. It's not rusty or anything. Case looks pretty good. Oh, we got a little bit of rust down here. Tiny bit next to the speaker. Let's go ahead and put this on its side and we'll take a look at the motherboard. All right, so let's take a look at what I got inside here. So first thing, we have a socket 5. So this would mean this processor is a second generation Pentium, either like 75 up to I believe 120 megahertz processor. I'm really curious to see if this is an Intel processor that's in here. Looks like I've got my cache here for the processor, and then to the side, I believe inside here we've got a SIM. I believe that's a 64-pin SIM, not positive. And there are two more empty slots inside there. These guys are the ones that are at an angle, and let's see here. Oh, it does have the metal tab, so I think, let me see. Yeah, so you can push these open. They're a metal tab. On my Amiga 4000, it has the same style of memory slot, and it's a plastic tab. So if you're aggressive with it, you'll break them, which is no good. We have ourselves a few very dirty cards. This is my video card. I don't know what it is. It's just coated in dirt. And then it looks like we've got some kind of a sound card here. And then these little guys, we've got, looks like our parallel port or COM ports, just to the, they're hooked into the motherboard. So that'll be interesting to see what we got there. Not much else to see on this computer. Now notice how the motherboard is under this drive bay, making it a complete pain to work on. Over here, looks like we've got the model number of the motherboard. So it's a PBA 541277-003. So that'd be interesting to look up and see what kind of specs we've got. And one more thing in here is we've got the trusty, let's see if I can focus on it. Come on, Dallas chip right there. So this one, this is your clock and battery, I believe, and it doesn't hold a charge anymore. Now, one thing that I am happy to see, one thing I'm happy to see is no battery. So there's no battery damage as near as I can tell. Everything's in really, really good condition. So I think I've got a pretty nice computer to build up. I was kind of hoping for a 486. I ended up with a Pentium, but it's an early Pentium, and that's just fine by me. Let's go ahead and maybe strip this down and pull the cards, take a better look at the cards, and also let's find out what kind of Pentium processor we got in here, whether it's a real Pentium or some offshoot thing. All right, digging around, I found this little guy. I believe this is a COM port. That belongs here. I'm just missing the little screws to attach it, which would be nice. So I'm going to remove all these plates, and we'll see what all we've got in here. All right, so I looked up the serial number on this board and found that it is a Intel Premier PCI 2 Baby AT. It is a socket 5, and it can run at, it looks like 50 megahertz, 60 megahertz, and 66 megahertz. All right, so let's pull some of these cards out. Starting with this top one here. Oh boy, this sucker is in there. All right, so here's our first card. It says it's made in Taiwan, and I do have an FCC ID, but not much more than that. A couple of cards, maybe, or there's a couple of chips here. Maybe I can look those up and see what they are. Yeah. On the back side, it looks like a 8-bit card. It says Laser ROM Revision 3. Now here we got a PCI card. This is our graphics card, and it is a 9GXE64. Very dirty one too. So it's from Number 9 Computer Corporation, Excellence in PC Graphics. Look over here. It's got an S3 Vision 864. So that might be a decent card for an early Pentium, having an S3. I don't know if this S3 Vision 864 has any 3D capability, highly doubtful. But if it has good accelerated 2D graphics, then that might be something that would work pretty nice. Got some kind of pass-through at the top. It says, oh, VGA pass-through. Interesting. Bunch of little chips along here. Imagine that's memory. Not sure. But I'll have to look this up, see if I can find some more specs on it. Come on. What do we have here? Oh my gosh. That was on there hard. This one, I am not sure what we've got here. I'll have to look this up. It says made in Taiwan. It's got a bunch of jumper settings, port addresses. This looks like a COM port to me, but I'm not positive. But we'll have to look at this one, see what we've got. I think I'll tear out the all this cabling, and we'll get down into the motherboard itself. All right, so we're using the IDE controller here to control the CD-ROM, so that's kind of cool. Pull that. So this is cable management 1990s style. This, let's take a look at this guy. I think this is my parallel port, my printer port. So that guy plugs in here. Just like so. And this is, pretty sure these are COM ports. Yeah, first one was parallel. These are COM ports here. Kind of funny they put, I don't know, I'm going to change this. So notice it's the same size connector, physical size. This is a COM port, and this is a COM port. So I have a 25 pin and 9 pin COM port, and this is my parallel port. But the COM port, you got this one set up to go over here, and this one over here. So I'm going to change this to the parallel, and then have this as my COM ports instead of this goofy setup they got here. There's COM 2 and COM 1. That's out. Now this one should be my IDE connector for my hard drive. So the red is pointing towards the back of the motherboard. That's pin 1. So let's pull this guy out. This is my floppy right here. And this is quite a busy, oh my gosh. Oh, what do we got going on here? Oh my gosh. Oh, interesting. Okay, so this is my floppy here, and it runs down and connects into here. And then this one is connecting down here, so it's my floppy. I only have one floppy port, and then this guy is running up to the Connor, up at the top. So I've never seen that before. That's really interesting. So I guess I'll just disconnect my floppy from here. And again, the red, or pin 1, is pointing towards the back of the computer. Now here I've got my Cooler Master fan. I don't know if this works. I might go ahead and give this a quick shot and see if it actually spins the fan. So let's give it some power and see if I have a good working fan. So I've got a spinning fan on my Cooler Master. Got some beeps, probably because I don't have my VGA cable plugged in, so there's no output. But yeah, that's a good sign. It's working. So let's move on. That's pretty nice. Comes right out. So I've got the board pretty much stripped down. The only thing left down here, I've got all my connections. So starting from the left, I've got my speaker, and then this is my power switch, and the next one over, this green and white one, is the, and it's got a space between them. This is my reset switch, and then I've got, after that, there's a keyboard lock, and then this little guy is my disc light. So that's disc light. And then over here, I've got, looks like a turbo. There is a cable in here, right here. This one is a turbo switch. I don't believe the Pentium would take advantage of the turbo at all, and I don't know what the LED would do. So that'd be kind of interesting to look inside there. Over here, I've got my 8 megabyte 72 pin SIM. I believe that's 72 pin. And then I've got 2 more that are free. And I believe this board will accommodate up to 128 megabytes of memory, which ain't too bad for an early Pentium. There's the infamous Dallas chip. These are notorious for the battery going dead, and then you just can't store your time. There is a fix out there though, so I might have to see if I can trace one of those down. Let's go ahead and see if we can pull the rest of this board out, because I'd like to take a good look at it, and then that'll give me an opportunity to clean up the case a little bit, get rid of all this crud and stuff. All right, so I got the motherboard freed of all of its plastic clips. There's like 6 of them in there. What a pain. All right, so here's a good look at the board. Here's our infamous Dallas chip, so our clock with the battery. And over time, the battery goes bad on this. There is a replacement for this Dallas chip, but right now, it's not going to keep time. My capacitors look really good. I guess one advantage to this Dallas chip is I don't see any battery on the motherboard, so there is 0 acid damage on this, which is really, really nice. Here's all my connectors for my ribbon cables. So I've got my floppy. This one here, I believe this one here is IDE. And then, nope, actually this is IDE. I'm not sure which one that one is now. I guess, I'll have to look that one up. Might be another IDE port. Over here, I've got my parallel, and I've got my 2 COM ports over here. There's my keyboard. My power from the PSU comes into there. These are 16-bit ISA cards, or ISA slots. So I've got a total of 5 of those. I believe these are exactly the same. And then I've got 3 PCI connectors as well. And that's about it. One of these is going to be the north gate and the south gate. Don't know which one's which. Looks like we might have, maybe that's a little bit of RAM on the motherboard. And then we got our socket 5 with the processor and our cooler master fan, which is still working, which is fantastic. And then I've got some connections up here for a fan. So we'll have to take a look at that. I guess some revisions of this board had PS2 capability. I don't see it on this board at all. So let's see what kind of processor we got on this computer. We could just push this down. How does this work? Oh, you know, I think what you're supposed to do is you put this in there, you push down, and you give it a little bend, and it comes right out. Look at that. Isn't that something? All right, now I should be able to just lift up the fan. It should come right off, and there we go. Intel Pentium. Isn't that a pretty one? Now, obviously, my thermal paste could probably be renewed. Let's see what kind of Intel Pentium I got here. All right, so it says Intel Pentium. It has L418049-8275. Intel 1992, 1993. And here I've got something. Got an index. So oddly enough, it doesn't have the speed here. What's this red stuff here? That's kind of odd. Strange. Looks like maybe they had a price tag on this. Maybe this was an upgrade. Let me get a little bit of alcohol and maybe we can wipe off this processor a little bit. Get it looking a little bit better. Wow. It's crusty. Look at that. Oh my gosh. What did they put on here? Well, it's pretty, but geez, oh Pete, what the heck? I don't want to scrape on it because I like the gold. I don't want to ruin that. This is quite dirty. Look at that. That's just from rubbing on this. That is not a thermal paste I am accustomed to, so I have no idea. This is a little scratched up too. All right, so I just looked it up, and this A80502-90 equates to a 90 megahertz Pentium processor. Yeah, so it's not the slowest, which would have been like a 75 megahertz, and it's not the fastest, which would have been something like 120, somewhere in between, so not too bad. Okay, I think it's gonna work. Let's go ahead and put a little bit of new thermal paste on there. The P side, I'll put a little bit at the corners, just a little bit. That's probably way too much. This may not be this job, but it's a heck of a lot better than what it had on there. And being a Pentium 90, I don't think it's gonna really get too hot. So let's go ahead and lock it down. There we go. That's it. She's in place. Beautiful. All right, so I got everything torn apart and cleaned, and it's looking a lot better. So onto the components, I've got my motherboard here. It's got, this has 8 megabytes of RAM. So it appears that this bank here, which I originally thought was cache for a CPU, is not cache at all. The cache is actually over in this area in here. This is RAM. For whatever reason, they have one of these banks points straight up, and then the other 3 are at an angle. It allows for up to 128 megabytes of RAM. It's currently configured for 8 megabytes. So these 2 here, these should be 4 meg sims. Let's take a look at that real quick, see if I can figure this out. This one appears to be a different brand. And again, nothing. Oh, there we go. So this is a 4 megabyte sim. I will have to wipe these off. Yeah, so, oh, it says something about from IBM over here. That's kind of interesting. So the next thing I've got is a 8-bit printer port, or parallel port. And then I've got a CD controller here. This is kind of interesting. I'm not sure what this is. Is this a game port? Or is this another printer port? Oh my gosh. I tell you what, this computer, if that's another parallel port for printers, that would just be ridiculous because the computer's already got one in it. Adding another one and then this one here, if that is a printer port. These guys are audio pass-throughs for the CD-ROM. It doesn't have sound built in. It just takes audio from the CD-ROM and passes it through so you can listen to CDs, I guess. Pretty simple device. And this board here, this is a number 9 Computer Corporation video card, specifically the number 9 GXE64. It's a PCI video card. This one has, I believe, 2 megabytes of RAM built in, which would give you the ability to display like 24-bit color screens, which is nice, especially for the day. It has the S3 Vision 64 chip, and it's a decent video card. It is a 2D accelerator. There is no 3D acceleration at all on this, but for this machine, I think it's going to be a pretty nice match. Over here, I've got my touch power supply that's actually in really nice condition. The Colorado 250 megabyte tape drive, also what appears to be a single speed CD-ROM. It's actually made in Japan. And then here I've got my TIAC floppy disk. I didn't want to take it off the caddy because it's too difficult to get it lined up, so I just left it in there and wiped it all down. My casework turned out really nice. The interior case just has a very small area of rust down at this corner. Other than that, it looks great. The front bezel just turned out really, really nice. There's minimal scratching on the case. It looks really nice. It's got the turbo button, which I don't think is going to function at all with this Pentium 90, and a reset button, which will function, and a nice clicky sound. And it's in good condition. It looks like I've got a little bit of dirt here that I can take off yet, and a little tiny bit there. But other than that, it's in good shape. Plastic's not cracked up or anything. I actually looked online to get the instructions for this little board. This is called a GK569. And what I want to do with this one is be able to light up the speed on the front so it just says 90. I'll have to play with that. Not sure if I'll be able to do that or not, but it should be fun just to see if I can get at least that functioning on it. The casework itself looks really nice. I cleaned it up. I got a small chip in the paint at the top corner, but other than that, it's really nice. And also I've got my 2 IDE cables that I'll be using, as well as this gigantically long, huge floppy drive cable. I'm hoping I can reduce this down to maybe just this single floppy cable, but I'm not sure. Notice this is the older style here, where you have the connection for a 3.5-inch drive or the larger 5.25, and then towards the end there's a twist which would set up your B drives for your 3.5 and your 5¼ inch drives. This cable here that it's plugged into, it only has attachments for what appears to be one A drive, and then this extension that would take you out to your Colorado drive. Okay, with all that said, it's time to put this computer together and see if it still functions. All right, so I got my e-waste Pentium all put back together again, and it's not looking too bad. So we've got our 200-watt touch power supply. Here's our AT keyboard connector, our printer ports and COM ports, and my VGA, and just a blank hole that could accommodate a compact flash card. The paintwork looks really, really nice. It cleaned up very, very well. All right, so from the front, there's really only one major blemish, and that's a chip in the paint over here. The CD-ROM has a little notch right there. I don't know if this works or not. The Colorado 250 megabyte tape backup unit looks fantastic with its black stripe here. And we've got ourselves just a regular old floppy drive. Looks like I got to align this a little bit, sticking a little bit far. And then our power, and we got an indicator here, turbo, which won't do anything on this motherboard, and a hard disk activity light. Not sure if that's going to work either. I'm pretty sure the reset should work. So here's a look at my e-waste PC that I bought for pizza money. So I won't tell you how much pizza money is, but you all know basically what it costs to buy a pizza, and that's what I paid for this, was pizza money. So I'm very happy to get it. There's really only one thing left to do, is see if it'll post. All right, I got a power light. The monitor's warmed up. It's tested the memory, and now it's waiting. I think it's looking for a hard drive. All right, speaker works. I'll have to check my floppy. It's got a A drive Air. Probably have it hooked in wrong, so I'll look at that. That's not a big deal. So that's it. That's a nice look at the computer. It's functioning. It just needs a few items. I will have more content coming out on this computer and many, many others. So if you enjoyed this video and you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to my channel. It's going to help out a lot, and it'll get out in front of other people who can also enjoy this type of content. So that's it for now. Until the next video, take care of yourself, and goodbye.